Hi, I'm Bejoy Pankajakshan, Chief Strategy Officer for Mavenir. I'd like to start with thanking India Mobile Congress for inviting Mavenir to give the keynote presentation on OpenRAN, Revolutionizing Open Access Network from Procurement to Performance. Mavenir has been leading the OpenRAN initiative, starting with the XRAN project prior to ORAN itself being created. Mavenir is also very active in TIP and other OpenRAN initiatives. Today, I'll present different aspects of OpenRAN, the definition, the benefits, including how the procurement supply chain is widened, and how OpenRAN can be used to deliver solutions meeting and exceeding key performance indicators. I'll also address some of the frequently asked questions on OpenRAN, such as security and challenges with deployment. A quick intro on Mavenir. Mavenir is an open architecture-based cloud-native end-to-end software provider supporting more than 250 customers in 120 plus countries. More than 4 billion mobile subscribers are served in Mavenir products, including more than 350 million subscribers today on NFV OpenStack. We deployed on multiple tier 1 operators globally on very large scale. We are around 4,200 employees, with a significant portion of these employees in R&D. Mavenir gained market leadership in the transition from 3G to 4G, where we moved from circuit switched voice to voice over LTE networks, which is a software revolution on the core side of the network. The industry is now moving through a similar revolution, a revolution on the radio access side. And Mavenir is again leading this effort with our OpenRAN solution. We're the only US headquartered end-to-end network software provider. We're end-to-end because our portfolio includes radio or access, edge computing, packet core, IMS core, private networks, as well as the container platform and management tools that are associated for orchestration and slicing. There's generally some confusion between OpenRAN, ORAN, and VRAN, as folks use these descriptions interchangeably and loosely. So let me take a quick minute to explain the differences. VRAN is RAN which virtualizes network functions in software platforms that run on general purpose processors. However, the key difference is that VRAN implementation can be done using open or closed interfaces. ORAN is an alliance of operators and vendors that creates specifications just like 3GPP defines specifications. And they do that using principles of openness and intelligence. Finally, OpenRAN is a disaggregated RAN supply chain and end-to-end system integration ecosystem that consists of virtualized RAN software, where all the elements are virtualized except the physical radios. Today, the interfaces between the radio software and the physical radios are proprietary and closed. With OpenRAN, these interfaces are open, they're interoperable, and they're standardized. With OpenRAN, these interfaces also adhere to the ORAN specifications and runs on open compute hardware, while the remote radio heads can also come from third parties. These radio units, or the RRUs, can be much lower cost as well because you can replace proprietary design with merchant silicon. Traditional RAN is far too costly and expensive to handle the explosion of data and spectrum. If we take, for example, 5 countries that are leading 5G adoption, the spectrum needs have grown in the last 4 years at a CAGR of 26%. And here the solution is OpenRAN because in addition to significantly enhanced flexibility and scalability, it reduces cost by an estimated 48%. That's made up of CapEx and OpEx savings. And when we look at a cumulative 170 billion market of radio over the next 4 years, the savings of 48% is pretty substantial. And even in 2025, 2G plus 3G will still make up around a quarter or 25% of the traffic. So then wireless service providers need a single modernized radio network that supports all the Gs. This was the driver for Mavenir's recent acquisition of IP Access. The 2G and 3G capabilities that IP Access now brings to a portfolio will be fully integrated into the OpenRAN architecture with fully containerized DO and CO to provide an all-in-one multi-radio access technology where we support all the Gs from 2G to 3G to 4G to 5G. Another key aspect to consider in the context of network modernization, in which all operators globally are going through, is that radio cannot be considered in isolation, and as we're going through a complete network modernization. And this modernization also involves multi-cloud deployments, which can be a private cloud within the operator network, a public cloud, so hybrid and edge clouds as well. When all areas of the network are open except the radio, this leads to inefficiencies for operators who are now looking to modernize the end-to-end network. We take a few examples. Having a common platform on which all applications run, OpenRAN software to packet core to IMS, it allows the operator to leverage common processes for automation. Similar CI/CD tools and pipelines can be leveraged across these different network domains. The data that's collected across these different network sources can be collected, monitored, and analyzed to obtain network-wide insights, which in turn then helps in doing network-wide performance optimization. The same is applicable to achieve dynamic end-to-end slices as well, that covers radio network slices as well as core network slices. For anybody who's doubting whether OpenRAN is real, this slide is an illustration of the recent momentum for Mavenir OpenRAN deployments. Not all of our customer engagements are public yet, so some of the names here on the slide are not disclosed. These deployments are first of their kind in many of these regions as well. And it's important to note that it's not just greenfield deployment, but there are many brownfield deployments as well. The first one is a greenfield deployment, which is in the US with Dish and expected to be the largest OpenRAN deployment. There's also OpenRAN deployments happening in Europe, which are live now with Vodafone UK, and first OpenRAN deployment in India as well with Vodafone India. There is OpenRAN activity that's happening around the globe and is a key factor in making mobile network economics work. There's also a misunderstanding, which in many cases is intentionally pushed by players who don't want to move into the OpenRAN based ecosystem. These false claims are that ORAN or OpenRAN will not be successful because of increased system integration cost or difficulty in operation and maintenance. While it may be true that there is additional integration and it may take another year or so to get there, it's not true that this is not going to succeed because of these reasons, because you've got ongoing OpenRAN momentum and prime adoption taken by tier one operators globally. We've also partnered with a few OpenRAN system integrator players such as Goodman Networks, GDT, and together we bring significant years of experience in field deployments. OpenRAN also widens the supply chain procurement. It takes advantage of rapid advances in computing power, as well as reduces the capital and operational expense, since there's now competition among the different layers. It starts with hardware and goes up to the software supply chain. And this widened supply chain will help accelerate the network upgrades to an open ecosystem. Today, the legacy RAN networks are closed, and that leads to vendor lock-in and is dominated by a few players. So open interfaces and interoperability is key. If these exist, then we can have a wider supply chain from which we can procure software and hardware vendors. The Mavenir OpenRAN solution supports a variety of use cases. The software runs on general purpose hardware, and radios are either developed in-house by Mavenir for a few use cases or procured from partners such as NEC, Sunwave, KMW, and others. The use cases range from new coverage and macro cells to enterprise small cells to neutral host and macro small cells. And we also have the 5G hotspots and mobile broadband use cases with massive MIMO and millimeter wave radios. This enables new business models with lower total cost of ownership. And OpenRAN also simplifies the deployment model because we can now run the DU at the cell site or at the remote data centers. As shown as in the slide, the KPIs of OpenRAN are now on par and matches what is achievable in the traditional RAN. And these numbers are from a brownfield deployment as well. A common question that comes up is how to guarantee KPI expectations for different operators in an ORAN model with multi-vendor ecosystem. The ORAN specs have been carefully defined so that there is no degradation in performance. And as what we've seen, many operators have looked and done ORAN deployments for Cat-A radios have not seen any performance degradation compared to the traditional radio implementations as well. And as I showed in the slide with the different KPIs that are achievable already. Mavenir has also created some extensions to massive MIMO use cases to account for mobility and interference. Now let's look at some of the OpenRAN frequently asked questions. A major OpenRAN barriers include the lack of OpenRAN radios. And this is something that Mavenir is looking to address via partners as well as in-house development for some radios. We need low-cost volume manufacturers of radios so that radio pricing in small volumes is not a market barrier to new entrants. Another challenge is the availability of OpenRAN radios in different frequency bands. When it comes to the maturity of radios in the ecosystem, there's of course a growing ecosystem as we discussed, but radios take time to develop. There are many smaller vendors with radio expertise, and lo-fi support is a new area to several vendors. Mavenir has a ORU software stack, which can be taken by the RU vendors and help them accelerate the delivery of ORAN-based radios. With respect to the ORAN testing and validation, ORAN Alliance has created IoT profiles for interop testing between vendors. It initially started for RU to DU interface, but now the scope has been expanded to CU, DU, RIC, NMS, and OSS interoperability as well. There's, of course, plug fests that are happening in different countries. There's no official certification stamp yet for ORAN, but under the ORAN Alliance, there's a base profile that's been created, and operators are also working with vendors to create RAN profiles suited for their specific requirements, maybe for bandwidth, for front-haul delays. There's been a few security concerns raised by OpenRAN, such as the addition of many new interface nodes, the near real-time RIC and XAPP's introduction, and in general virtualization and open source security concerns. These concerns are well understood by Mavenir and the OpenRAN community, and there's a special subgroup in ORAN as well that's focused on defining security requirements. I'll conclude by summarizing that OpenRAN is real. It's happening now, and it's not a pie in the sky. It's not something with a lot of promise for the future, as some vendors who claim to support OpenRAN states, but it's in fact something that's happening now, and it's happening in tier 1 accounts. So OpenRAN has demonstrated support for large subscriber bases and are already meeting network performance KPIs in both greenfield as well as brownfield deployments. Finally, operators deploying OpenRAN solutions can also get the integrated service delivery experience from vendors like Mavenir as a system integrator. Thank you, and look forward to the next India Mobile Congress presentations. Thank you.